Well, welcome back to Breakfast with Bacon. We have Doug Bacon, managing partner here at Throwing Words, whose last name inspired the series. We have Julie Zalua, Jay-Z, who we fondly call, and she's in the background making sure everything happens. You have Lynn Ingersoll, me, your host. And we're tickled to have you back. Each week, we attempt to share what we're learning in the effect and interest that you will take what we're learning and use it in your world. One of the things in this strengths work is we notice when we're talking about strengths, how quickly the conversation defaults to, yeah, but I'm missing this, or I don't have this, or I'm still not doing that. Doug, you're our expert. How do you deal with that? How do you handle that default to the negative?
Well, I think it's human nature to kind of, particularly when there's two results you get from from Gallup and the Strengths Finder. There's the top 5 result or the full 34 theme, and particularly with the top 5 result, it gives the appearance that you're lacking in a lot of areas, and so it is interesting how quickly people go to but. So tell me about this whole column here where I don't have any strengths at all, and I found, but what's most effective is, people are going to go there, so you go there with them, but then help them understand that it's less about what you don't have, and it's really more about what do you have and how do you leverage that. So I had a conversation with a friend last week who he's really, when you look at, if you were to look at his top strengths profile, he's got a lot of strategic thinking strengths and a lot of relationship building strengths. So he's wired to think about what will we do in the future, and also is really connected in terms of authentic relationships with others. And he's in the sales role, and so in sales, you can kind of think about influencing and kind of convincing others. And so this person doesn't have any of his top strengths in the influencing domain. And so we had this great conversation about, how do you leverage what you do have to deliver like those influencing strengths would naturally do. And it comes back to habit. He needed to create a system or a habit that met the needs of those top strengths so that he could then actually leverage some of the influencing themes that were lower down the ranks for him. Because the struggle for him was he's new to sales, and he has a sales manager who is not wired like he is. And so, but my friend wants to be really thoughtful and understand kind of what's the beautiful plan for sales, and how does what we're doing fit into what the overall company's trying to accomplish. And so he's thinking, but he also needs that connection personally. And he was missing out on that with his sales leader. And so it was really helpful as he and I were talking through it, just to kind of realize that there's always going to be this sense of a little bit of tension, dissonance, as he's trying to leverage some of those influencing themes. But he's got, if he can get more time and more structured time with his manager, that will really help him to be more comfortable and be more confident, which means he can do what he needs to do. And the reality is that we all have areas that we're not strong in. And so, yeah, absolutely, we should look at what they are, but don't get hung up there. You need to quickly move to the place of, the first question is, does it matter? So does it matter that I don't have a bunch of influencing themes, influencing talents? If it doesn't matter in what I'm trying to do, then don't worry about it, right? Everything, you can stop there. But if it does matter, then you start thinking about, all right, so how can I deliver on that? And you've got a few options. You can say, all right, so who's somebody that does those things really well? And how can I partner with them to do that? And what's interesting about that is that we kind of feel like it's like we're cheating or something, because no, that's part of my job. I'm supposed to be the one to do this or that. When down the hall, you've got a colleague who can't help but deliver that, can't help but do those things, loves doing those things, and would be happy to help you. So one area that comes up for me is ideation. So ideation is this great, it's really creative. It's kind of this curiosity about ideas, and so somebody who's got that, which I do not, but somebody that has that, you can kind of just give them a topic and say, go. And they make all these connections to do all these different things. And so if ever I need to brainstorm, I think about who has ideation and how can I engage them, because they don't really need to know anything about the subject matter. It's this ability to connect ideas, and they would love to do that. Versus if I put that expectation on myself that I have to come up with the ideas, it's never going to happen, because I'm not wired that way. So can you find, so it doesn't matter that I don't have that. If not, great, you can stop there. Or is there somebody else I can partner with who does that naturally? And then the third thing is that how can I leverage some of my strengths to deliver on the same outcome that the strengths, so for my friend, he's trying to deliver on influencing people to schedule a demo to talk about the software that they are selling. And so we talked about how, so what does that look like to leverage those strategic thinking strengths and those relationship themes to deliver the result of somebody saying yes to a demo, scheduling a demo. And what we realized for him, it was all about him getting comfortable with what does he know, that he knows what the overall plan is and how he fits into it, so that he can then leverage some of those relational talents to make some connections over the phone.
Great. So, in many of our sessions, we've talked about self-awareness, how important that is to just be aware. So being aware that, I've just taken my strengths and turned them into my, what is it you call them when they're not your strengths? You have a special word for that.
When they're in overdrive, or the non-talents. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So and to let people talk about that, because that's important. So secondly, acknowledge that and then redirect them when they're done. Because if you want to wallow in your non-strengths or your overdrive, you can. It's just you're going to get a lot further faster if you focus on what you can do, and also partnering with somebody that can really help you in an area that you want to. They've got a strength that you don't. Did I get that?
You got it.
Well, Doug, that was great. Thanks so much, because I think people really struggle sometimes with strengths and overdrive. So we'll see you next week. Thanks.